Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today on Calgary's podcast is Roy Almog, who is founder of 2% Realty, 3% Realty, and ABC Law Office, which we'll get into all of them shortly. Thanks, Roy, for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's start first of all with the 2% and the 3% Realty.
Sure.
Maybe explain a little bit to our folks out there just what exactly are you and what do you do?
Sure. So we're a full service real estate brokerage. We take care of everything for our clients from start to finish. So it's not a do-it-yourself, it's not a for sale by owner or hybrid model of any kind. We're a traditional brokerage through and through. The big difference is just in our rate of commission at the end. It's 2% or 3% depending on the market. And we've got offices kind of separated East Coast and West Coast. And the two brands basically offer all of the services you'd expect. So photography, laser measurements, showing, MLS, everything is handled on our side.
What's a typical commission?
There is no typical, there's ranges. The one thing that's very unique about Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC is something that's called the split, where some realtors would charge 7% on the first 100,000 and 3% on the remaining balance. So as a blended average, that works out to just around 4%. We're 2% in those markets. When you go to the Maritimes out east, we've seen rates that are 6% flat without that split. So in those markets, we're under the 3% banner.
Now, just a couple of factual stuff. Roy, your first office was opened when?
2007 in Edmonton.
2007. And how many offices do you have currently?
We're in 42 different markets.
Oh my,
Yeah,
wow. I
we've
didn't
been busy. We've been busy, Mario.
realize that because we did talk way back
Yeah, yeah,
first started, and
yeah.
why do you think the concept has grown to such a level?
Um, I think people are happy to have options. There's lots of other options in the market. It's not always the traditional brokerages that have been around for 100 plus years. There's a lot of different models out there. I think ours kind of marries the sweet spot that we're still a full service brokerage, so it's not a do-it-yourself, it's not a for sale by owner, which some people just don't want to do it themselves. They don't want to start, taking on this pretty big challenge is to sell a home and not be trying to figure it out on their own. So if they're looking for a realtor, but don't feel like there's the value in paying somebody some of the fees that are out there, we're sort of in the middle there, bridging that gap.
So take us back in time. How did you come up with this and why?
Yeah, so it came out of a personal need that I had when I was looking to sell a home in Edmonton. I contacted the realtor that helped me buy that home. And I said, look, I market's doing well. I've made a good, return on the purchase, and I want to sell it. And I didn't really know what the fees were on the selling side. I'd always just been on the buying side. So on the buying side, I didn't have to pay anybody anything. The realtor basically worked not for free, but they got paid by the seller. So I never had to come with money out of pocket. And when he quoted me my rate, which then was 7 and 3, I did the math. I was like, it's going to be almost close to $16,000 I'd have to pay him in fees. And I knew the market was hot. I knew properties back then were selling in days, if not hours.
Yeah.
And I just didn't find that there was value in paying this guy the almost $16,000 for the work that he was going to do. So I looked around and I found the for sale by owner on one side of the spectrum, do it yourself. You pay them a few $100, they throw you up on some website, Kijiji, those types of vendors. On the other side of that spectrum were all the brokerages that have been around forever and ever and ever, but nothing quite in the middle. And my proposal to my then realtor was if he would be willing to do it for half, I would give him my listing. And he said, nope, can't do it, won't do it. And he held firm to it. So I decided to go to real estate school and kind of do it on my own. And then from there, it kind of snowballed into there's other people out there that were just like me who were wanting the assistance and wanting a realtor,
Uh,
but wanted to pay a lower fee. And that's where it kind of all came together.
so what were you doing before becoming part of this whole real estate industry?
I was in telecom. My background in telecom, I'd worked for TELUS, I'd worked for Bell, so nothing to do with real estate or the space at all. Always had an interest in real estate, but never made the full move from telecom to real estate is a pretty big shift. I'm glad my realtor then wouldn't budge on his commission. If he had, I probably would still be doing something in the tech space. But it worked out in the end, yeah.
So, before I forget, what is ABC Law Office?
So we just launched that earlier this year. We opened up our own law firm that does our own closings. So in every real estate transaction, primarily here in Calgary, where we're serving the market here first, there's always two lawyers involved. One's for the seller, one's for the buyer. And I was looking over the last 18 years of business and how many millions of dollars in legal fees that we've been referring out every time a client buys or sells. Hey, do you have a real estate lawyer? It's not a very broad sort of, legal field. It's pretty narrow and there's not a ton of players in that space. So I contacted the Law Society, worked with them. It took almost, well, just over 2 years to get approval because I'm not a lawyer. So we got approval through, it's called the Innovation Sandbox. And we're now operating a law firm separate from the real estate side. And we do have a lawyer and paralegals and all the stuff that any law practice has. It's just one more way for us to kind of say, look, if you're looking for a referral in the legal space, we have this sister company that they would be happy to help you on the closing of your purchase or sale.
Interesting. What do you like about the real estate industry?
I like how no two transactions are ever the same. Doesn't matter if the market's hot or not. Doesn't matter if it's on the West Coast, East Coast. No two transactions are ever the same. There's always, the human element that plays into every transaction, which kind of takes you in a different direction. I still trade in real estate, although not like I used to. I still do, a couple of transactions here and there just to kind of keep my hands in it and not be too far removed.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that part of the work. I think that's the fun of it. That's what I pursued early on was the deal making part of it.
Yeah. What do you think is the key for realtors, I guess, in terms of their success?
They definitely need to find an edge, something to differentiate themselves from the thousands of other realtors that are out there. Just some numbers from the Toronto Real Estate Board, for example, 55,000 realtors. Why would you pick this one versus that one? And there's 54,998 other ones to interview. So what's the edge? What's the hook? What makes you different? Why would somebody want to work with you versus all of the other realtors they could possibly work with? And the ones that figured out the why me, why work with me, are doing very well. The ones that are kind of like, I don't know, because I'm a nice person. It's great that you're a nice person, but there's probably lots of other nice people out there, and it's tough to get the clients when that's all you have to go off of. So figuring out what makes you different.
So strictly from a business standpoint, what was the biggest challenges that you faced when you started off and started this kind of entity?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges were adapting technology, which really wasn't at the forefront of real estate when I started. It was very paper driven. Fax machines were still a real valid thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's got to be a better way because we're doing a ton of volume. And we can't do a ton of volume when you're having to drive and fax something one page at a time and then the fax jams. So all these little things that were never really around. I mean, I remember programs that came out early on, which we use now till today, like DocuSign, which is now kind of like a standard electronic signing platform. But we were one of their very first clients ever to test it. I remember I had a laptop with a pen with a stylus. I paid a fortune for it back then. There was no tablets. There was no iPhones. I had a BlackBerry and nowhere for clients to sign. So I got this laptop that was crazy expensive, but it helped. People are like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like I could just sign on your screen. I'm like, yeah, give it a try. So adapting the tech side of the business, which is kind of my background, was on the tech side and bringing it into real estate, into streamlining the process to a point where we're able to churn through the volume that we do. That was a big shift for us from manually pen and paper and faxing to electronic and digital.
Interesting. Yeah. What when you look at your entrepreneurial journey, what would you say? Where did you learn a lot about business and doing business? Like, were there
On the
people?
go, on the fly.
Were there people that you looked up to in terms of in the industry, or were there books you
I
read?
didn't know anybody in the industry. And me starting the business that I did, I certainly didn't make friends in the industry. I now have really good friends in all the different brands, and we vacation with them and we talk shop, and it's great.
Yeah,
But early on, I was the black sheep. I was kind of doing something that wasn't really done and challenging the commission model that hasn't been um, really disturbed or challenged for many, many years. And so it was all on the go. It was all on the fly. Every deal, just I learned something new, and every deal made me a little bit sharper and quicker and helped me kind of shape our growth plan.
were any books that impacted you?
No, I'm not a reader, except for your column, of course.
What about
Uh,
people like either famous business people? Anybody you admired there?
not in the real estate space per se. So it wouldn't, yeah, it wouldn't kind of parlay over. There wasn't anybody I have family that's always been on the entrepreneurial side. So I learned a lot from family from an early age. But we weren't in real estate. My parents weren't in real estate, but still entrepreneurial and kind of figuring out, self-employment. It's, in my opinion, the best gig in the world. It's just not for everyone. We have a lot of realtors that join the real estate world thinking, yeah, this is going to be great, but they have a really hard time structuring their day. There's no set scheduling saying, okay, now at 10 a.m., you got to do this. If you don't do it on your own, it's hard. A lot of people get drawn and sucked into Netflix vortex for hours and hours. And next thing you know, the day's gone.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do anything else, having been doing this already for 18 years, but it's also not for everyone. Self-employment is, you really have to be able to stomach pay or no pay at the end of the month. Just because you worked on a deal for or clients for 40 hours that week doesn't guarantee you a paycheck at the end of the week.
Yeah.
And so for some people, they can't get around that. So they come into the industry, they give it a try, they give it a good try. It's just a personality clash. They need that dependency of every 2 weeks, that paycheck coming in steadily, and being 100% commission based is can be challenging.
I wonder from your perspective when you go back, and if you don't mind me asking, like
Yeah.
how old were you when you started this?
Um, I was 27.
Whoa. Okay, so
Yeah.
27 to start something new. How difficult was that to go from my quote unquote secure job, although an
Yeah.
old boss of mine always said there's nothing's safe and secure, but you know what I mean, right? That
Yeah. Yeah.
a place that probably good salary, good benefits,
Yeah.
etc.
Absolutely.
Doing it on your own, that must have been pretty scary.
Yeah. It was. I had a lot of support from family, and they encouraged me, and they said, "Look, give it a try. We're here with you. Whatever you need, we'll support you in any way we can." And that gave me a really big sort of comfort and a safety net to know that if I try and it doesn't work out, I still have something to fall back onto. My previous employer at the time when I left said the same thing. It's like, look, we'd love to have you back. I hope it all works out for you. But if it doesn't, you're always welcome back. So that kind of helped me feel a little bit better that if this didn't kind of take off like I thought it was going to take off, I'd be welcome back to my past job in telecom in a field that I'd worked in for many, many years. And with the family support, it was a easier sort of leap to take.
Now, obviously running the company like on a bigger scale, and I'm just wondering like how much time or do you have to actually do the real estate side of things?
Yeah, so I try not to do too much on the transactional side anymore. So my time is more now focused on growing the business, developing new territories, and strengthening existing territories. But I still love that part of the work. And I've done two transactions so far this year. So I'm on par to do my four for the year, so one per quarter. And I try to work with a buyer, a seller, a house, a condo, just to kind of see what it is that my realtors are going through out in the field. It's nice to be able to experience the market firsthand, not get it secondhand sort of storytelling of, oh, it was this, it was that. Not that I don't believe them, but it helps me when I'm transacting to kind of say, okay, yeah, I totally understand what you guys are talking about because I did a deal 2 weeks ago, or I'm working on a deal right now, and it helps just kind of stay sharp and on my toes.
Yeah, yeah. When you look at the market these days, what can you tell me about how the market, obviously it's different in every city.
Yeah, I think our Calgary market is still very strong. It's not for all property types. It's not all price points. Those have kind of fluctuated like any market goes up and down. But we're finding that listings that we have or clients that we have that are looking to buy that first home or sell their first home and buy their second home in a certain price bracket, if you're in that 650 to 700,000, if you're a single family detached house, it's tough out there. Things are moving quickly. Things are really cooking. And I hope this feel good message gets out there that the sky is not falling. Certain price points, the market is slowed down. The million plus in certain areas, they've kind of slowed down. Condo market's a bit saturated, so that's going to slow down.
Hmm.
But we're finding that sellers who are realistic and pricing it for today's market, not for a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, saying, "Oh, my neighbor sold for 850 2 years ago." So, well, I'm sorry you weren't on the market 2 years ago and you could have gotten 850 all the same. But the market of today, here's the price, here's what you can expect. And they're still making a really good sort of, return if they bought it, 6, 7, 8 years ago to where they're selling at now. Market's still very healthy.
Yeah. What about just doing business and being a business owner in Calgary? What and in Alberta? What benefits do you think uh, a business owner has by being here?
We have, although we're a very regulated industry, real estate, and now the legal world also heavily regulated. I find Alberta to still be the most free to do whatever you need to get the deal done within reason, of course. But our governing agencies, our governing bodies are very forward thinking, I find, in comparison to some other markets that we're in that are very closed and saying, no, this is how it's been for the last 50 years. This is how it's going to be for the next 50 years. And don't even try or say or invent something different. Alberta is a very welcoming entrepreneurial market. And we're finding Calgary specifically, we have a lot of clients that are self-employed
Yeah,
and business for self. And it's nice to see that they're all, living their dream and doing what they want to do as their career, not because they have no other choice and they're stuck on a hamster wheel somewhere.
yeah, exactly. What's what advice would you give to a young aspiring entrepreneur? Uh,
Um, get comfortable being uncomfortable because even today, I'm not 100% comfortable. It's just my personality. I'm always kind of like, yeah, I don't know about this month. We'll see how it closes out. And it's all fine, but it's still always in the back of my mind that we're in 100% commission business. And stay involved in every facet of the company. Early on when I was starting out, I wore all the different hats. I was marketing, sales, HR, payroll, administration, training. And now that we've grown, we've got people in those positions, but I'm still very much involved with every department. And I sit right across the hall from me is the gal that does all the money movement, and we go over everything all the time. And so I'm not too far removed from it where I just kind of feel like I don't really know what's happening in my business. I like to stay in it and have my hands in it at all the different facets.
it's tough, I guess, to let go, right? I just
It is.
especially
And
when
it's
I started.
yeah, it's one of those things that I find just helps us just stay sharp and on our toes. if I know what the accounting people are going through, I can somewhat maybe segue that into maybe what some of the marketing and advertising people are going through and be that go between and say, look, I just sat with so and so in this department, and here's our plan, and here's how we're going to do this, and don't worry, we're going to take care of that. And just being involved in all different departments, I find really helps me, anyways, kind of be a better sort of steering of the ship.
So, when you look at, I guess, entrepreneurs, they're pretty much, you know, working all the time, right?
Yeah,
You're not working like literally working, you're working in your head. Uh,
absolutely.
and so I'm just curious, are you able to find time to get that quote unquote balance in your life?
Absolutely. I've made sure and I've put a lot of heavy lifting and hard work early on to build it to a point where it's now running on autopilot. And we're very particular with who we hire and who we bring on. Just because you have a realtor's license doesn't mean we'll just take you on and say, oh, yeah, sure, come on over. We've built a great ecosystem. And every time you add something new to that ecosystem, you want it to have a positive impact, not a negative impact. And so that didn't just happen on its own. It happened by design, and it happened with the selection and sort of the steering of where I wanted things to go. And now that we're there, it's great. I could take as much time as I want and not feel like stuff is falling apart or there's things kind of being, left hanging up there. We have a fantastic team. Our realtors are all doing phenomenal work out there for us. So I'm never losing sleep at night wondering, oh, what are they up to? Or what's this person up to? I kind of have a really good understanding of who they are, what sort of work they do, and the quality that they deliver, which enables me to go get up and go whenever I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what do you do? What do you do beyond work that you have special interests in?
Traveling. Traveling is a big one. Try to get to see as much of the world as we can. Um, Sports, winter sports more than summer sports. I don't particularly enjoy the super hot weather like we have today. I prefer cooler sort of days. Um, that's it. Hang out with the family and the rest of it. Like you said, it's always something brewing in the back of my mind. And my wife always gets tired. I always, doesn't matter where we're driving in the car and all of a sudden say, hey, grab my phone, jot this down. It's like a one word thing. To me, it means everything. She's like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm like, just write this word, put it in my notes. I'll explain later. And that's kind of how, this thing with ABC, for example, came around is looking for ways to continue to integrate and evolve and grow and not just say, okay, well, we've got one, it's producing, it's working. Let's just kick back now and do nothing. We went on to start 3% Realty and now ABC on the legal side. So always looking for something exciting and new to get into that can complement the existing businesses that we're already in.
All right, wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Roy, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Mario. We'll
Oh,
talk soon.
you bet. That was Roy Almog, who is founder of 2% Realty, 3% Realty, and ABC Law Office. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.